Good morning, guys. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Good morning. Lovely to be with you guys. So, welcome if you are joining recorded. I might sound a little bit more croaky today, but we're just going to use it as like a like a soothing croak, you know. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and make a start. If you've got a couple blocks, that would be absolutely fab. And then, as usual, we're going to start with a little bit of time in stillness. So, if you feel most comfortable seated, sometimes sitting on a block or having them under knees, cushions can be really nice. If it feels a bit more like lying down is going to be more comfortable, even being on a chair, but just finding somewhere that the body feels really supported will be lovely. So take the time you need to get set up. It can sometimes be nice to think of these beginning moments of practice as a part of the practice. So the way you're getting yourself set up starts to have this intention of care behind it, this intention of, this softness, this caring nature, compassionate nature that we're coming back to in practice. Once you've found your seat or your posture, beginning to decide how the eyes feel the most comfortable today. If it feels best to have a soft gaze, finding your drishti, an intentional way of looking. Or if you prefer to start to close the eyes down. Either one of them is lovely. Just seeing what feels the best for you in this moment. And then from there, we're going to gently think about lifting the top of the head, almost like you're going to elongate through the spine. If you're lying down, it might be a little bit more of a shuffle on the ground. And then slowly tucking the chin just a little closer to the chest. So we're just looking for a feeling of lengthening out the back of the neck. And we're going to take a couple sighs to settle us into the space. If you'd like to, you can roll the shoulders or take any other movements that feel good. Take a big inhale as the shoulders draw up. And then a sigh out. As you draw it down. A few more like that. Big breath in. Sighing it out. Big breath in. Sighing it out. Now, if that feels really good today and you want to take a couple more, find a little more release. Take as many as you like. And then when it does feel like the right moment, you can allow your breath just to gently start to settle. Most traditionally, we breathe in and out through the nose, but breathe as is comfortable for you today. And you can begin to experiment with finding a slow and steady rhythm. Gently beginning to gather your attention and your awareness with the breath. Breath by breath, beginning to ground yourself into the body. Just softly beginning to collect your presence, beginning to feel a little more. For an offering of an intention today, I want to offer out kind of a jumble of two things that crossed my mind. The first one is about this sense of coming home. I've had a really busy couple weeks, so I haven't been home that much, and as of yesterday, I'm now kind of grounding back into being in my home in the more literal sense. But that had me thinking about what coming home really means, or what the term home means. I think feeling at home within yourself, is a place where you feel safe, where you feel listened to, where you can kind of let go, you can come into yourself. And it's not always a physical place. Home, I know for me, is more of a sort of subtler, deeper, energetic place. And so although I get the physical comfort of returning to my home, there's this gentle sense of that home that we continue to return to throughout practice. This coming back to, I guess, safety within ourselves, this connection within ourselves. And then this morning, before I came to record this class, I was looking through just one of my favourite books. You may or may not have heard me reference it before. But it's the Book of Awakening from Mark Nepo, who is an absolutely lovely, lovely, fabulous Buddhist teacher. And he gives out a little teaching every day of the year. And the teaching for today is named Dump Your Pockets. And he gives a quote at the beginning of each of them and ends it with a little sort of meditative musing. So I'm going to read that to you as we begin. So the quote is from Carl Jung, and it says, "Please remember, it is what you are that heals, not what you know." Then Mark goes on to say, "This is very difficult to remember. I struggle with it daily. Even when I understand this enough to open my heart like a sponge to the day, someone I love comes along in pain and I start dumping my pockets, looking for the one thing I know that will help them. But time and time again, the only thing they want is for me to open my heart like a sponge to them. They only want to be heard and held. This is so easy to see in other forms of nature. Stars hold the dark by being light. Rivers keep the earth alive by being wet. Wind clears our heads of clouds. These are the teachers that open the heart, the things that wait in our nature for us to bring them alive. These are the things that heal ourselves and each other. When my pockets are empty and I've dumped all I know, I often end up shrugging, admitting my ignorance of what to do. Humbly, it is then that the real work of love begins." I think Mark's touching on this really beautiful idea that the most important thing to ourselves and to those around us is this coming back to listening, to love, and to holding. I know for me that is something I often think about embodying through a movement practice, an asana practice. So I wanted to read that out before we started to move today. And then finally, this little meditative musing from Mark. He says, "Once during the day, think of who you are as living energy and not a goal to be achieved or an obstacle to be overcome. Feel yourself without inventory." So if that makes sense for you or it feels interesting, I want to invite you maybe into our movements today to take this as your place to feel yourself as living energy. Maybe that gives you the space to hear yourself, to listen, to hold, to keep creating a home. When you feel ready to ease into movement, let's take one more deep sigh together, a full breath in. Sighing it out, let it go. Draw the chin down to your chest. And let's gently begin to rock the head side to side. Bringing back just a gentle connection with your movements. Allowing the movement to start to guide the breath. And the breath gently to start to guide the movement, just beginning to softly drop in to feeling. Now, if there are any lovely pals who have been lying down, take all the time you need. But when you feel ready, you can gently begin to make your way up to find a seat. No rush. Take any props or stretches you like along the way. And then when you get there, we're just going to continue to explore the movement around the axis of the neck. So it might be a nice full circle if that feels good. Could be more of a kind of figure of 8 motion or just sort of moving freely. But just beginning to move, to breathe. If other parts of the spine want to start to get involved, if that feels good, you can let them. Just starting to ease into connection with the breath, into a connection with feeling. If you do feel like you've been taking circles in any way, we'll start to take it back the other way. Maybe seeing if you can keep a softness in the jaw, in the brow. And then let's come back to stillness. If you practice in Ujjayi, we'll begin to control the breath in the back of the throat. If you're not sure how to find it, first try fog up a mirror. That didn't make sense. Pretend you're fogging up a mirror and you'll feel a feeling at the back of your throat. Then we do the same thing with the lips sealed. So I'll demo that with you if you're a bit newer to the breath. Or inhale, like a mirror. Same thing, lips sealed. Let's take one more inhale together, Ujjayi, or a steady breath. Come back to your intention. And we'll sync together movement and breath. Next inhale, let's sweep up the arms, look up to the hands. Exhale to press palms onto one another, draw them down through center. 2 more like that. Inhale, sweeping up, maybe gently looking up. Lifting up the sides of the waist, the armpits. Draw it down. 1 more like that. Press hands onto one another. You might feel a little bit of sensation in the chest if you press a little firmer. Let's take 1 more inhale at the arms up. And start to make your way to your tabletop position. Whether you want to roll over your knees or take them out to the side. We're going to have the hands about shoulder distance apart and the knees about hips distance apart. And begin by just moving organically. You can start to shift your weight from your points of contact. So whether that's hand to hand, knee to knee, you can keep it quite subtle. Or if you want to start to invite in a little more organic movement, you are more than welcome. So you can begin to drop your weight to the heels, maybe drop your weight to the hands. If you're familiar with a cat-cow and you prefer to be there, it could be a kind of cat-cow motion. But I just want to give you a little bit of time to begin to connect with the body and the breath in your own way. We are also fabulously different, so the way we find this kind of connection, this feeling into our essence is always going to look different. I know for me it feels different, looks different, probably every practice, every day. So it can be nice just to have a little bit of space to see where today you might be at. Let's come back to a neutral spine when you're ready. Come back to any breath practice. We're going to take 1 cat-cow together. Inhale to draw the shoulders back. Lift the heart and the gaze up. Then as you start to exhale, we press the ground away. Dome the spine, let the chin drop down to the chest. Think like you're trying to press the front, it's not the front, sorry, the top of your back to the ceiling. Come back to neutral inhale, tuck your toes, grip your fingers. As you exhale, let's find downward facing dog, lifting the hips up and back. Now take your time here to settle in. If there are movements you want to take, feel free. You might want to start by bending both the knees or one then the other. If you feel like you want to bring in a sigh, we can bring in a sigh. Then feel free to move freely. If you're coming with me, we're going to inhale the right leg to the sky. We'll bend the knee and open up the hip. Exhale, allow the back of the neck to drop. One more breath in. Then as you exhale, start to draw the knee towards your nose. We're going to work the foot towards the hands. You might want to use a hand to help you. Take your time. That one can always be a bit of a faff, that transition. Take the left knee down. We're going to take 3 circles here, inhaling the arms up. Exhaling, draw them back. Think dropping the hips, engage the glutes, heart comes up. 2 more like that. Inhale, press through the front foot. Exhale. One more time, tracing the breath. Exhale. Hands come down to frame your front foot and we come through a vinyasa. You might have your own variation. Or inhale, we'll take the knees together, shoulders forward, supported plank. Exhale, we lower the whole way down to the ground, elbows come in. Inhale's a cobra, point the toes, shoulders back, Bhujangasana. Exhale works us back towards down dog. Can sometimes be really lovely to take a moment in other poses. You can pause in child's pose. You might have a wiggle around back in tabletop. And then as and when you do feel ready, we'll meet back in downward facing dog. Just one more breath here. Chin drops down to the chest. Then second side, let's inhale the left leg up. Bend the knee and open the hip. One more breath in, press the right heel down. As you exhale, the knee comes to the nose, pressing the ground away, doming the spine and stepping the foot towards the hands. Take your time, right knee comes down. Then 3 circles at your own pace. The inhale is going to sweep up. The exhale, open up and back. 2 more with breath. Taking care of the body with the breath. Easing yourself in with the movements. Hands come down to the ground. Again, we'll take a vinyasa sequence, your own variation. You can do what we did before, or if you like, come towards lifting the knees in your plank. As you exhale, you can go the whole way down to the ground, or if you prefer, you could take it halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale is a chest open of some form. Could be cobra. The pose I'm demoing right now is up dog. We're lifting the thighs, engaging the glutes and straightening the arms. As you exhale, we'll start to find our own way back to down dog. Just one more breath here. Then we come towards the top of the mat. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look towards your hands. Whether you want to tiptoe, step, or jump the feet to the top of the mat, we're all going to meet in a forward fold. Little bend in the knees, chin to the chest on your next exhale. Let's come the whole way to standing. Press down through your feet, lift up your hands, lift up your gaze. Let's look up to the thumbs. Samastitihi, the hands come down through prayer. A couple breaths to find focus. Press through the feet, lift the top of the head. Start to soften the shoulders as you lift the heart to the thumbs. We're going to think about our bandhas here, Pada Bandha. So that's foot bandha or a foot lock, essentially just grounding through the feet, engaging through the feet. Pressing your big toes, your heels, and the sides of the feet. Notice the body lift, stand a little taller. Lift up the top of the head Let the shoulders soften and tuck the chin again. Jalandhara Bandha, engaging around the throat. Ujjayi breath is a similar thing. And if you'd like to, we can think about Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha. This is our kind of pelvic floor towards the lower core. Just a gentle feeling of engaging and lifting. We won't hold it the whole way through practice, but it can be really helpful to support for some poses. Let's inhale here. Exhale here. Come back to what brought you to your mat or what you'd like to take into the movements. Let's again breathe it in and breathe it out. From here we Surya A. Inhale, sweep up the arms, look to the thumbs. Exhale, a little bend in the knees if you like. Forward fold, chin to chest. Uttanasana. Inhale, you lift halfway, bring the weight to your heels. Exhale, you'll transition to the back of the mat. Hands to the ground. You can walk, step, or jump your way back. You start to lower if you haven't already on your exhale. The inhale will lift us up, and the exhale takes us back towards down dog. 3 breaths here. You can stay as you are, you can drop the knees. If you want to take some movement with me, we're going to bend the knees, take them to the left-hand side, press away through both the hands, drop the hips. Oh, lovely. And then when you're ready, switch sides. Come back through center. And then we come back to the top of the mat. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look past the hands. Walk, step, or jump. Inhale, think of the chest lifting. Then as you exhale, we fold back down. Whole way to standing, press down through your feet, lift up your hands, lift up your gaze. Exhale, back down, Samastiti here. One more Surya A. Let's inhale, sweep up, look up, press down through the feet. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift. If you're working on your jumps, a cue I'd like to recommend, as you take the hands to the ground, think of shifting some weight forwards and look forwards. It can help us find a little bit of float. As we start to transition back, it will bring the hips a little higher. That's going to help us work on bending the elbows as we come back. 2 more breaths here. Then when you're ready, we're going to inhale the right leg back up. Exhale, knee to the nose, dome the spine. Step the foot in between the hands. And then this time we're going to come up towards our crescent lunge. So sweeping up the arms, keep the back knee lifted. We're going to open up the chest, interlace the hands back behind you. Inhale here, pull the knuckles away. Exhale, feel like you were trying to draw your knuckles towards your back heel. Lift the heart up. 1 more breath in. Exhale, start to lean forwards. Arrow lunge, create a long line in the body. Tiptoe on your back foot. 1 more inhale, we make our way towards warrior 3. Keep this little lift in the chest. If you like, you can tip the angle of the pose and maybe you square the hips. 1 more breath. Then start to release your bind. We're going to bend up the back foot and we're going to go for both hands onto the foot or the ankle today. Take your time, find your drishti, somewhere to soften the eyes. And then we're going to kick the foot into the hand. Variation of bound dancers. 1 more breath here. Then we slowly start to release. Inhale, draw a knee into your chest. It can be really nice to lift the arms up here. Think of lifting through the wrists and slightly leaning back. And then exhale, flex the foot, bring yourself down to figure 4. That is a legit yoga pose, but I think it always feels fabulous. And then we're going to think heart towards the thumbs. Not that they all don't feel fabulous. Press the left knee down and away and lift up the chest. 2 more breaths here. I'm just giving myself a little bit more space. Now you're more than welcome to stay. You can take a moment to rest. If you want to try something else, we'll start to take the elbows down towards your shin. Think about still lifting up the chest. might be enough to stay here, or we can start to play with flying pigeon. If you know you're going, go for it. If you wanted to try it and you have blocks, it can be a really nice way to get used to the pose. So it's kind of like crow pose, but we're keeping the legs as they are. So you're thinking about stacking your shin on towards the biceps. You're gonna have to bend your arms, look further forwards than you think. From there, we're working on peeling up the back foot. As that gets stronger and steadier, we can start to extend the back leg. Not for Saz today. We take the right foot down if it's not there already. Both feet to the ground. And let's make our way to second side. So take your blocks out the way. Inhale sweeps you up. We're going to keep it flowing, so straight back down as you exhale. Inhale, we lift up halfway. And then again, you take the hands to the ground. If you'd like to, shift some weight to the palms, look forwards before you come back. Inhale, lifts the chest. And exhale. Down dog for second side. Let's inhale the left leg up. Exhale the knee to the nose, dome the spine, step the foot towards the hands. Crescent lunge, we inhale, sweep the arms up. Lift the tops of the fingertips, take a moment, soften the eyes. One more breath in. And start to draw the hands back behind you. Notice the way you interlace naturally. Switch your thumbs, switch your fingers. Inhale's gonna lift up the chest, think of drawing the knuckles back. Exhale, stay. One more breath. Then slowly start to find your arrow lunge, long line in the body. Start to come on the tiptoe of your back foot. And we find a warrior three. So if you're able to spread your toes here on the bottom foot, that's going to be really helpful for balance. You can wrap down your right hip. One more breath. And then we're coming up towards that dancer's variation. So start to lift the chest as you bend up the back leg. You can release the hands to come back to your grip. If you want to try something else, keep them interlaced as you kind of wiggle the foot, kind of like into a little hand basket. One more breath. Laughing will make you wobble. Start to release. Take the knee into your chest. Think of lifting up the hands, leaning back. And then we find figure four. Flex the foot. Knee out to the side. Sit the hips low. If you're right at the top of the mat with me, or you've got a wall in front of you, you're going to need to give yourself a bit more space. And then we start to sit down low, soften the eyes, find your breath to help you find your balance. You might feel really happy here, enjoy the sensations here, stay present, be with the energy here. You might just want to play with taking the elbows down towards your shin, lifting the chest. Oh, there's a lot going on here. If you did fancy your arm balance, you can take it with blocks, or you can try it without. Hands to the ground, look much further forwards than you think to peel off the foot. Maybe the leg extends. Oh, nearly for Saz. Take the foot down and then both feet to the ground. Let's pause in a forward fold. We're going to take it a bit wider, feet just a little wider than hips distance, have a little bend in your knees. We're going to take the peace fingers towards your big toes. If that's inaccessible, let's take hands to the backs of the legs. Inhale, looks up slightly. Exhale, feel free to sigh as we deepen our fold. So think of letting the chin drop down to the chest. If hands are on the backs of the legs, we're going to think about sliding them down to the ankles. If the peace fingers are on the big toes, you can create a little bit of resistance by pulling through the hands and draw the elbows out to the side. Let's take one more breath here. Drawing it back. Then slowly let's start to release. Draw the fingertips back forwards and we're going to come to Malasana. So drawing the knees out wide, drop the hips down to the ground. Now we're going to play with a little bit of toe touching as we did a couple weeks ago. And take the hands to the ground. This is a crow variation or a work towards crow. We take the hands to the ground, bring the hips high, keep squeezing the knees to biceps. We're thinking about tucking the toes onto one another. and coming back. If that feels a little bit scary or it's not your thing today, we go one toe at a time. We're thinking about finding that midline. So you take the hands down, hips come high, lean further forwards than you think. One toe, ding, two toe, ding, then maybe one day it's both toes, ding, 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 and then down. Sound effects are good. One more inhale. If you want to sigh out, exhale. Now we're working our way to the back of the mat. You might have a jump back. If you do, go for it. If you want to transition to your headstand, go for it. I'm going to talk about jump back for a sec. So that feeling of leaning forwards and pressing back like we did in our vinyasas is what we're going to think about. Toe touch and shoot back like the hips are coming high. So I'm going to inhale. Exhale is going to help me find my crow because it's going to engage around the core as I look forwards. I'm going to hold for one more inhale, then it's the exhale that's going to help me go back. It's one of those things that feels terrifying for a really long time. It might continue to feel terrifying, but then there tends to be about one day that we get it, and then it just makes sense. We're going to inhale the left leg up this time. Bend the knee and open the hip. If you want to take a moment to rest at any time, it's always, always available for you. Best thing about being recorded is you can just put me on pause. Let's take one more inhale if you're staying here with me. And then we're going to work with wild thing today. So you can bend the right knee a little if you like. We're dropping the left foot towards the ground on the other side of the leg, lifting up the heart and the chest. And think about your heart going towards the front of the mat. Left arm stays reaching. One more breath. Then a little different today. We're going to bend the knees, bend your left knee, to drop the hips down to the ground. We end up seated facing the other side of the mat. I'm going to inhale the right arm up. Going to take it as a seated twist as we work the right hand towards the left leg. You can squeeze onto the left leg if you like to straighten the spine. You can start to create a hook in the elbow, or you might want to work your bind. If you're bound, it's the hand going under the sort of gap in the legs, left hand around the back. Wherever you are, we lift the chest and look round. If you're bound, you could even play with extending that left leg, but then look about where it's gone. It might be out to the side. Draw it to center. One more breath. Feet to the ground, release the hands if they're not there already. We're going to play a little bit with grasshopper. So you're going to step your left foot to the other side of the right leg. And first take a counter twist. Think chin to the chest. Relax down the back of the neck. Are you as out of breath as me? Take your right hand down by your hip. And we're going to work with the left hand first just on the ground. So we're going to work a bit of a motion shifting forwards and back. Now, if it's a right hand, squeezing the elbow in, kind of like in Chaturanga, is going to be really helpful. Some of us, you might even be able to rest yourself kind of onto the elbow point in the waist. So, going to lean forward, lean back. So you lean forwards, we're going to press down through the hands, see if we can lift the hips and bring it down. Cool, cool. Give it a go. The lift and down. So that's kind of half the motion. Second hand is going to touch somewhere on the right leg. Might be on the calf if you can. Coming down to the foot tends to be a little easier because we can pull. Or you could take a strap, wrap it around the foot, and you've got a bit of pulling motion. Now here, I'm going to move my hand in a little closer. I'm going to think about squeezing myself onto my elbow. I'm going to lean back. I'm going to draw the elbow in. I lean forwards, and I'm kind of placing myself onto the elbow as the chest lifts forwards. One more breath. Take it down. What I demoed there is me landing on the elbow if you were looking at the same time. If I was going to take it without the elbow comes a little further out to the side. It's a little stronger. One more breath. And down. Let's release it out through a figure four. So start to sit yourself back onto the glutes. We take the foot onto the ankle onto the quad. Take a little bit of movement here. Ooh. And we're going to take it towards a compass. So you're going to extend your right leg, draw the left leg in towards the chest. First seated pigeon, you can hold here. You might want to take it into Anjali Mudra if you prefer, taking the hands under the legs, hands to prayer. 2 breaths, try, draw them deep and steady. Okay, compass pose. Bring the left hand under your leg if it's not there already. Let me just turn so you can see me a little better. Right hand's going to come to the outside of your left foot. left hand comes to the ground. Shift as far as you can away from the leg, so you're shifting right onto your right glute. We're working on extending the leg. Might look something like this. If there's a little more space, you're going to think about turning towards the right shoulder. So it starts being quite a lot of a twist, and it's a lot of shoulder opening. I'm going to take one more breath in your variation. If you're comfortable, start to work on, treacherous, bringing the hips square down to the ground. One more breath. And start to release. Okay, we're going to work a little bit of a motion towards Astavakrasana. If you know what you're doing, my arm balance babes, Astavakrasana to Kundalini if you like. If you're with me, feel free to use blocks. I think that's always a really lovely support here. We're going to have blocks by hips. You're going to think about leaning forwards. As you exhale, we're pressing to see if we can lift the hips. And you're thinking about drawing that right foot towards you, maybe to start to think about lifting it. It's a lot. Take a release when you need. Press the backs of the hands to one another. If it feels like a bit of a faff having the leg on the arm, you can also take it in a figure 4 or in a lotus, leaning forwards, press. Something like that. Full variation of the pose. If you haven't seen it before, Astavakrasana, we're starting to lift the right leg. It'll stack on the ankle and we press the feet out to the side, but we take that through a lift. So you inhale forwards, press, ankles stack, legs to the side, little bend in the elbows before you bring yourself back. Wherever you got to, we're all going to meet where we began. So the left foot's on the other side of the right leg. We're going to make our way back to the top of the mat, take it through a figure 4. So we're taking the shin back onto the ankle. Right hand's going to come back behind you, back onto the right hand side of the mat. We're going to work on pressing up. Take the left hand round, keep the legs as they are. Down dog variation, inhale. Exhale, take the shin towards your wrist, drop the right knee down. Active variation of your pigeon pose. If you want to take a block underneath your glute, feel free. We're going to inhale, sweep up the arms. You can peel up the back foot if you like. And we're thinking about taking the hands back towards your foot. So open up the chest, engage the glutes, think heart up. Keeping the head lifted is helpful for balance. And you're starting to think about the hands coming back towards your foot. We're going to hold just for one more breath. And then slowly, we start to release. Peel the hands forwards. Take a little bit of a wiggle side to side. And then let's pause in sleeping swan. You might stay as you are. You can come down to the forearms or the forehead down to the ground if you like. 2 more breaths. And then from here, there's going to be a couple options. Start to release yourself back so you can take the hands back onto the ground. You can come straight to a more restful heart opener and we take puppy pose. So what that would look like is taking the knees back together and then bringing the hands forwards to work the forearms, maybe the forehead down to the ground. Can be nice to take a block. Oh, lovely. Or if there's a little more space, you could play with taking the chin down. So this would be a slightly more passive variation of a heart opener. If instead you wanted to work yourself towards your Pincha Mayurasana or your forearm balance, we're going to take that by keeping the left leg lifted. So what that would look like from pigeon, you tuck your back toe, we're going to inhale the left leg up. Now I like to wiggle my hands towards one another here, makes them feel a little bit more stable for me. You're going to inhale as you look to the fingers. Exhale, drop the elbows down. I like to interlace my thumbs. You might like to interlace your hands, see what feels good. You can stay here, build strength here. You can wiggle your back foot forwards, or I'm going to suggest a little tipping motion. Inhale, tiptoes, look forwards, maybe back foot lifts, and then work on bringing it back down. You might stay. If you are working on taking the legs together, I haven't done this in a minute, we're going to think about squaring the hips as you draw the feet towards one another. If you're comfortable there, use your fingers to grip and start to work on dropping the gaze. And whenever you're ready, you're going to take yourself down if you were up. Let's all meet in a child's pose. Take the hips to the heels. Peel the fingers away. Big breath in. Long sigh out. Give yourself a couple moments to soften. Come back to feeling and listening in the body. Noticing any pockets of space. Maybe coming back to any intention. If you were wanting to take this time to lean into feeling into your wholeness, your energy as you are. Maybe breathing that in and out. Now we're going to start to make our way for our second side. My cat's toy has turned itself on, so I'm just going to move that. We'll meet back in a downward facing dog. You might want a vinyasa. You might also have a cat toy that's turned on and you need to turn it off. Oh no, how do I turn you off? There we go. And when you're ready, we meet back in down dog. So for second side, let's inhale the right leg up. Bend the knee and open up the hip. One more breath here. Drop the back of the neck. Then we work towards Wild Thing. Feel free to bend your supporting leg. I like to wiggle it a little further away. We're thinking about dropping that right foot up and over. Press through the feet when you get there. Think heart forwards to open the shoulder. If you have the transition to full wheel and you want to take a moment there, Urdhva Dhanurasana, feel free. One more breath. And from where you are, we bend the right knee a little deeper to bring the hips down to the ground, left leg long. First, find your twist, right leg steps over. And we twist towards the right shoulder. Inhale the left arm up. You might be hugging the leg, hooking, or taking your bind. Option to straighten the right leg, wherever you are, lift the chest. Use the breath to help you. We slowly start to unravel, counter twist, chin to the chest. Then we're going to open up the side of the hip. So taking it to a figure four, a little bit of movement here. Ooh, lovely. Try keep the breath with you. Sound effects, expression is more than welcome. Then we'll work baby grasshopper. Again, I'm going to turn myself around so you can see me a little bit better. Right sole of the foot comes to the ground, left hand by the hip, and the right hand's going to reach down. First, we work a bit of shifting just to see if we can lift the hips. You might want to stay there, feel that motion. Think of drawing in Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. You might start to take the hand down, and we're thinking about squeezing the elbow in. Shifting back, squeezing to lift, think chest forwards. Maybe you're taking the elbow out. One more breath. Taking it down if it's not there already. We're going to take the sole of the foot down to the ground. Come back to some movement. And then we work our way towards compass pose. So first, taking a hold, you're going to peel up this right leg. And we're holding for 2 breaths. You might be holding the leg close to the chest. You might be hooking under for Anjali Mudra. Wherever you are, 2 breaths. Try release the jaw and the brow. Just come back to the feeling within the pose. Compass. You're going to take this right arm underneath, left hand to the outside of the foot. Shift your weight to the left, right hand to the ground as we work on peeling up and open. Again, for those of us that are comfortable, you might think about squaring the hips down as you peel up the chest. One more breath. Breath will be super helpful. Oh, and then we take it down. Ashtha Vakrasana variation lifts. You might have the foot on your ankle. You might want to take blocks. You might have the leg back packed. Wherever you are, we lean forwards, inhale, exhale to press and lift. If you're hooking, you hook, extend. Take your time. If you want another go, I'm going to take this one in a figure 4 and I'm going to take my blocks. We think leaning forwards, inhale. Exhale to straighten the arms. Think of drawing the heel in, hold. And down. Okay, from here we're working our way back to the top of the mat. I'm going to turn myself back the way I was. So we take the right foot back where it began. Left hand comes back behind you, but we take it towards the left hand side of the mat. Also, we were in a figure 4 to see if we can press ourselves up and round to take the right hand back down. Let's work pigeon, Kapotasana. Inhale and exhale. The right shin comes to the ground. Now you can come straight to Sleeping Swan, or if you want to work Raja Kapotasana again, we press down through the knees, peel up the back foot. You might work some balance and strength. You could take a block under your hip, or maybe you're thinking about going up and over. One more breath. Start to release if you haven't already. Sleeping Swan, take the hands forwards. You might stay on the hands, the forearms, or the forehead. 3 steady breaths. Now your choice on your transition and then your chest opener. So you might go straight to Melting Heart and a Hatha Puppy pose, or we might be taking it towards our dolphin hold or pincher variation. Hands come to the ground. I'm going to demo us back through pincher. If you're going Melting Heart, take the knees together. Inhale, tuck the back toe, lift the right leg. Look to the hands. We drop the forearms as we exhale. I like to use a bit of momentum, so I'm going to keep looking towards the hands as I work on peeling up the back leg. Now squeezing the feet together I find super helpful. You might want to take a wall. You could work your headstand if you prefer. Maybe you're working on dropping the head. Let's take one more breath. The feet come down if they were lifted. If you've been in puppy pose, you can take yourself back to child's pose, where we'll meet together. Any variation, any props that are helpful for you. If you want to sigh, deep inhale. Think of who you are as living energy and not a goal to be achieved or an obstacle to be overcome. Feel yourself without inventory. Allowing ourselves to soften away from the intellectualizing of experience and dropping into the kind of lovely gooiness of feeling. All of the shades, all of the colours. Bringing us back to different definitions of our own personal yoga, our personal way of connecting. Okay, from here we're going to bring ourselves to seated. If you feel like coming straight there, nice transition, you can drop the hips. We're going to meet in Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet come together. If you feel like you want to work your jump through, I always think it's really nice to try it with blocks as you're working on it. Take your hands a little wider than your shoulders so you've got space for the body. And shortening your dog is a nice way to be kind to yourself. Shorten your stance is what I mean by that. You're going to come to your tiptoes. You're going to look where you want to go. You're going to bend your knees, a little bend in the elbows. Think about stacking the ankles to bring yourself through. Take your time, give it a go. However you get there, we meet Baddha Konasana. You can keep blocks under the knees if you like, or remove them, lift up the chest, and we fold. 5 breaths here. If it feels accessible, you can take a hold of the inhale. Steady the exhale. When you're ready, come back up to upright. We're going to keep the legs as they are as we come down to the ground. Doming the spine. Exhale. Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined butterfly. I always really enjoy to take my hands to the body here. For lots of us, this is really intense into the inner hips, so it can be nice to really allow the breath to stay with you as a guiding force, a focus of release. Again, 5 breaths, your own pace, your own time. When you're ready, gently start to release. Draw the knees in towards one another. Take them into the chest. Give yourself a nice big squeeze. And we'll take a bit of movement here. Then finding a happy baby pose. Feet come out nice and wide. Hands can come towards the feet or anywhere down along the legs that feels good. If you want to move, feel free to move. And then from here, as always, I like to give you a little bit of time to be with your body, to guide your own practice. So just taking a moment to feel if there are last movements or shapes that the body wants to make today. If you have a closing pose or a sequence you really love, if you know you normally like to close with a twist, that can always be a lovely option. I'm going to take a moment to turn the lights down. If that's something you'd like to do too, feel free. And then when you do feel ready, you're going to make your way to your Shavasana of choice. Shavasana can always be any pose that you might like it to be. Most traditionally, it's the body extended out, but this is just a guide. The pose is designed as somewhere that we can release and let go. So finding somewhere the body feels supported is always the most important thing. Take all the time you need. If you're still closing, there's really no rush. Once you found your variation, I want to invite you to, just as we began, welcome in a couple sighs. Giving yourself this time to release, to soften, and to let go. It's super normal for stillness to feel different on different days. You might feel comfortable as you are, but perhaps instead, if today's a day that you feel like it'd be more beneficial to have somewhere to keep the mind focused, I always think it's a great idea to come back to any intention that you've been working with and take the time to focus on that. Allow the mind to gently turn it over, almost like a mantra. Breathing your intention in and out. We'll be here for just over another 2 minutes together, and then I'll start to bring us out. When you're ready, you can just gently begin to start to deepen your breath again. Bringing a little more life, just a little more awareness back towards the body. And then in your own time and in your own way, just gently inviting that to expand into little movements. Maybe the head, fingers and toes. And then when you feel ready, that can expand a little larger. You might want to stretch today. Maybe you want to take the hands to the body, find some body-to-body contact. Just welcome yourself back. take all the time you need. But when you feel ready, we'll start to make our way back to a seat where we will close our practice today. Any stretches, any props you need along the way, take your time. Once you've found your seat, lifting the top of the head, softening the shoulders, and gathering your awareness to the center of the chest, feeling and breathing gently in and out of this space. This home that you continue to carve out for yourself, to return back to. Once during the day, think of who you are as living energy, not a goal to be achieved or an obstacle to be overcome. Feel yourself without inventory. Not an obstacle to be overcome, not a goal to be achieved. As living energy. When you're ready to close, let's take the hands to prayer at the center of the chest. I'm going to seal the space today with the sound of Om. If you prefer not to chant, it's absolutely fine. You're welcome just to sit and to soak in the sound. But if you would like to chant with me, we'll first take a cleansing sigh, inhaling. Let it go. Inhale to chant. Inhale. Exhale to bow the head. Jai. Thank yourself for your practice and for your time. A huge, huge thank you from me for being here. If there's anything you need, or if you have any questions or anything you just want to chat about yoga, feel free to reach out to me at any time. We've got a couple spots opening up at the minute for one-to-ones. If you're interested, let me know. If not, lots and lots of love. And I will hopefully see you next week. All right. Have a lovely day.